All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Do roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Siebold.
Present.
Ms. King.
Present.
Ms. Gunchen.
Present.
Mr. Dawson is absent. He has called in. Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
We have approval of the August 13th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I did notice some minor typographical errors in the minutes.
Okay.
Ms. Francis is noted as Mr. Francis. There are a couple Mr. and Mrs. swaps. So how would we do that?
You just note that that would be a universal change throughout
Okay.
to correct those typographical errors.
Okay. There is also a reference to Karen Genovese as Mr. Genovese, if we could also note that as a universal change.
I also have a correction, and that is my fault. Mr. Dawson was not present. Mr. Siebold was present, so I apologize. I will make that correction.
With those corrections,
Okay.
I would move to accept the minutes.
How about we salute the flag? Straight behind you.
Well,
I'll second the minutes.
let's approve the minutes first.
Oh, we need to vote on those?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do second.
Okay.
So Laura, you made the motion, and Selena, you're seconding it? Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Let's pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Anything under old business?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we bring the first appeal 12298 off the table.
Okay. There a second? Somebody? Do we need a second?
You do need a second to bring it off the table, but then it's just a simple
I can
majority
second
vote.
that.
Tom?
Sure.
I would also move that we bring the second appeal 13305 off the table.
Second.
Second, Tom, okay. We need a roll call vote.
Okay. Mr. Siebold.
Affirmative, yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Gunchen.
For clarification purposes, because these two appeals are no longer relevant, specific to the changes in the zoning ordinance, I will vote yes in that this appeal should be denied.
So we're going to roll things back here just a minute procedurally, okay? So there was a motion and a second to take the first old item off the table. There was a motion and a second to take the second item off the
Yes.
table. I don't know that there was an actual vote. I think that the chairman called for a roll call vote on the motion to remove them
Okay.
from the table.
Got it.
So, and really, you can do a voice vote on that. You don't need a roll call on this because it's just a procedural motion. So there would be a vote to remove those two items from the table, place them back on, and then I think that Ms. Gunchen is prepared to make a motion with regard to the resolution of each of those.
Thank you.
So just a voice vote right now on whether or not to remove those items from the table.
Just in general? All
Just-
those in favor signify by
Yep.
saying aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so those items are now off the table, back on the agenda, and I believe that Ms. Gunchen has a motion to address those.
I do. So specific to both of the previous appeals, the updates to the zoning ordinance have now made them moot, as this use is no longer a special exception. Therefore, I would ask that we vote to deny one individually.
Question. And this is probably not our purview, but do they get their money back, or, because we just kind of wasted their time and their money?
I don't know that they get their money back. That's a city administration fee. It's not a zoning board fee.
Okay.
So I think that that would be up to the city administration, and as far as, you know, whether or not it was a waste of time or a waste of their time, when they applied, that was the rule. Again, that's not really something that we have any impact on.
Okay.
Okay?
Can we make it like a generic recommendation, or just a friend of the citizen thing? I don't know.
I think that.
Or just leave it?
Yeah, I would just leave it in terms of any official action, because that's really not something that's in front of you.
Okay.
Be up to them to ask for a refund, correct?
I mean, that's up to them. They can
Yeah.
go to the city and ask for that. That's not something that we have any say over.
Okay.
Very good. Now we need to vote on this.
So there was
Second.
there's a motion, there was a second here to deny both of those appeals as moot, correct?
Yes.
Now you would do a roll call vote on that.
Okay.
Now, you want a roll call or just general?
Just roll call on this one.
Okay.
Mr. Siebold?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Gunchen?
Yes.
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries.
Okay, moving right along. Appeals to be heard, number 5.
Okay. Mr. Green, or representation for appeal number 13313? And when you come to the podium, please make sure you speak into the microphone just so it can be recorded and heard by our court reporter.
Yes,
She
ma'am.
also needs your name and your address.
Hi, my name is.
And to be sworn in.
Yes, correct.
Go right ahead.
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zachary Morales. I reside at 308 Parkway Drive, Erie, PA 16511. I'm here representing Aaron Green on behalf of.
Would you speak louder, please?
I'm here representing Aaron Green on behalf of the property 2801 Holland Street in Erie, PA. He wants to switch it from a single-family home to a two-family home. It was previously already a two-family home, and he plans on doing so without breaking any codes or any type of building codes or anything of that matter. The building was already purposed as a two-family. We have drawn up plans to better configure the living space properly for two families. The building will still look the same, but help provide more housing to a high population density area of the city. The two panel boxes will allow for dedicated breakers separated and identified for each of the key appliances throughout the building. The unit can easily be made to be better to accommodate two tenants with 2 points of entry and exit for each apartment. The neighborhood also gives access to two nearby open spaces, including Bakerfield and Holland Street Playground. The goal is to ensure that the property at 2801 Holland Street is properly permitted and fit to host two families. We plan to work directly with Harper Electric to ensure that all the electric work is done to code and proper permits are obtained. And we plan to set a realistic time frame to complete the home and start being able to provide housing.
Questions?
Do we have any photographs of the current interior of the home?
I don't have that with me at the moment. I apologize.
Do you know whether or not the home was occupied when Mr. Green purchased it?
No, it was vacant. It has recently been gutted out, and the electric work has already been started for the downstairs apartment, but it's a hold to do the upstairs apartment because he wants to have the two breakers to get it approved for two separate.
So when you say it was a two-unit before,
Yeah, I guess.
Are there separate entrances? Are there,
Uh,
can you
yeah.
describe it to us?
Yes, there's our, so there's a front entrance, and then the entrance to like the upstairs is there's like another door between the downstairs apartment right there and right there. So the downstairs would have access to that door, and he plans on, at the top of the steps, he plans on making a second exit right there, to provide with codes and everything.
So right now, even though it's gutted, it's basically a single-family home.
Yes.
And you're saying it was previously at some point a 2-unit?
Yes.
Okay.
So relative to the picture that's on the screen, I don't know if you can see it, to the left right here. We're looking at the front door.
Yes, ma'am.
So in order to get to the second story, you have to go in that front door?
No.
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 How do you get to the second
In
story?
order to get to the second story, you would go through that door right there on the side.
Okay. Can you talk to us a little bit? We have some paperwork in our packet about blight remediation, that this was once a blighted property.
Yes, previous, before he purchased it, the house was blighted. And if you would drive by anytime recently, those vines are not on the building anymore either.
Okay.
That's
What-
your May photo from Street View, just so you know.
Right. What's no longer there?
All those vines and like all the bad landscaping, it was all cleaned up, touched up recently.
What about the siding?
The siding in the front there, in the front by the front door,
Well, the whole siding, has that all been replaced?
in the front, the vines are taken down, but that right there, that's towards the front door. There's OCB covering those holes right now. It's getting prepared to put siding on it, sir.
Making me dizzy, Amy.
I know.
I guess before he bought it, there was like an awning or something right there that has fallen off. He doesn't plan on rebuilding the awning. He just plans on boarding that section up and siding.
Before the house was gutted, if I went in that back door, could I access the first floor?
You'd have to get through another door. You would enter the door, and there's another like exterior door right to the right of that, and then there's stairs going up to the second apartment.
Okay. But you could, from the interior, access both floors, no matter which door you went in?
Yes, there's an exterior door that separates them.
Well, I understand, but it's a door, it's not a wall.
Yeah, if you have the proper key, you would be
Gotcha.
able to get.
So specific to this board, we have criteria that we need to follow relative to making a decision. So one of the questions of that criteria, because you're asking for a different use than what's permitted in that zoning area, is that if there are unique circumstances on that property that would prevent you or the developer from utilizing that property as it is written in the ordinance, so as a single-family home, right? It is not our role or job to determine whether or not we think this is a good idea, right? Or whether or not we support it as an idea. We have very strict criteria that we have to meet. So in terms of that, being that R1A is traditional single-family homes, is there something about this property that would prevent it from being developed or utilized as a single-family home?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Anybody here to speak in favor of the variance? Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of the variance?
No. Oh, no, sir.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of the variance? Anybody here to speak? Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Hi.
Want to get sworn in?
Ma'am, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear. Yes.
Thank you.
Kathy Schaff, as a citizen speaking, I am aware that Erie is in a dire housing crisis. I read about it. People have talked to me about it. It is pretty much a national crisis as well. So I didn't realize that it was not zoned for a 2-unit, but in my estimation, we need more apartments. And listening to this conversation, this gentleman is completely repurposing it, having said it was gutted. So it sounds like it's going to be a positive thing. And so I would affirm. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody here to speak against the variance? Is there anybody here that wants to speak to oppose the variance? Anyone here to speak against the variance?
Please.
Come forward, please. I'll swear her in, please.
Ma'am, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Good morning. My name is Mindy Keel. I'm a code enforcement officer with the City of Erie. And I just wanted to bring forth some information regarding this property as you make your decision towards the variance. The property is a blighted property, as you saw in the packet. It also has $600 in outstanding quality of life tickets for junk and debris and high grass. It also has at least 2 liens filed against it for cutting the grass at the property. And it still remains uncompliant as of October 2nd when I was there last. So that's all I had, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was her last name? Could anybody spell that for me?
It's Keel, K-I-E-H-L.
And actually, I did have a couple of questions for you. When you say that it is non-compliant, is it non-compliant just with regard to the yard maintenance, or are there other areas in which it is non-compliant?
The junk and debris is non-compliant.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a few questions.
Yes.
So it's $600 that the issue is about?
The outstanding quality of life tickets. So tickets are issued for junk and debris and high grass, and so they currently have $600 in outstanding quality of life tickets.
And so how many attempts have been made to reach them, and like when has that started? What's been the time frame?
I started, they received notices from me in July. It looks like, according to our code enforcement record, the previous code enforcement officer that had that area sent a notice in March. My notices have gone, I sent 3 in July, 3 in August, 2 in September, and 1 in October so far.
And that's all been of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
And date of purchase was 2021?
I am unaware of when he purchased it.
Okay, yes, it's 4/19/21.
Gotcha.
Would you say the date of purchase?
Yeah, it was
They took it over?
They took it over in 2021. And so enforcement started this year, March of 2024?
For myself, it was
Okay.
blighted in April of '23, so there would have been code enforcement record on it for it to become blighted. I do not have that with me, though.
So the total fines come to how much?
$600.
Okay, and so if they take care of that, then the blight stops?
No, no, they have to rehab the building, pull permits.
Well, the
and
lien stops, as far as what you're saying?
They would not be issued any further quality of life tickets.
Okay.
So, and to be clear, you indicated there was $600 in outstanding quality of life tickets. You also mentioned a lien. So the lien is in addition to the current outstanding quality of life tickets?
That is correct.
Do you know how much the lien is?
I do not.
And is the lien with the city?
Yes.
So there's $600 and whatever the lien's gonna take there.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. So how's your communication back and forth been with the property owner? Is it all one-sided?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess what you're asking is if we would approve this variance, that we make it contingent upon the fines being paid and the lien being paid.
I think that would be appropriate, yes.
Thank you. All right.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else to speak against this variance? Okay, thank you. Hearing none. Any questions, Mar?
Just a question for the zoning. Do we have any record of this property being registered as a two-family dwelling in the past?
I could not find anything on record at this time. One thing to note as well, there is a dimensional variance that goes with that, just so
Right.
you're noted that there is a.
I'm not hearing any
Is your, yeah, you might want-
response to your question.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Just to reiterate that there is a dimensional variance as well for the two families because of the lot size. I could not find any other record showing a 2-unit. Again, that doesn't always mean it was a legal 2-unit originally.
And the assessment card at the county, it just shows it as a single family. They've only been paying taxes on a single family.
That's correct, yes.
Since inception, since it was
Since I
built.
can find back to, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask if we could have a brief executive session.
Sure.
Thanks.
We'll be back. We're going to take an executive session first. Some comments from board members?
We do.
I cannot hear you.
How about now?
That sounds better.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to table this appeal for today. We had a pretty vibrant discussion about the role of the zoning hearing board and the role of the zoning ordinance and the conflict that Councilwoman Schaaf had brought to our attention today, and something that is being talked about in the community. Our role as the zoning hearing board is very specific relative to the criteria which we must follow. We do not want to be part of the problem of preventing access to affordable and quality housing in the city, in the area. If we were to apply the criteria specific to this request, it would not be favorable in that regard. So part of the reason to table is to hopefully work with council relative to that concept. We do not create the ordinance. We are charged with enforcing it. So having conversations with council about exactly what happened today. The fact that more than likely that area has a large number of multifamily dwellings to provide a need. Again, that's an R1A zoning district where that's not permittable, right? So if we were to apply this very specifically, it would be a denial. But in terms of the broader conversation about access to housing, affordable housing, quality housing, the focus can't be that narrow, right? So another part of the conversation is around the hardship. Is the ordinance creating that hardship? Things of that nature. So I wanted to go on record today relative to that broader conversation about what the needs are in the community, and to put an ask out to community leaders to say we're willing to have those conversations and bring forward to you real life examples of how the ordinance may not support that larger effort.
Arthur, anything you want to add?
Sure. I mean, just to, I guess, amplify and possibly clarify some of these things. So what we're saying with what the board is saying is if they vote to table this, it's not denied, but it's also not approved. Okay? We're going to come back and revisit it at a subsequent meeting. There are some things that, you know, certainly we would encourage you, as if you're managing the property and the property owner, to do, to, you know, put yourselves in a better spot in that regard, with regard to the what I would call the, you know, the broken windows type of citations that you've received, with regard to the lawn, with regard to things like that. First of all, if you've got outstanding tickets, clear them up. If you've got liens, clear them up. Show that they're serious about the changes here. But the bigger picture is that, again, you're talking about a use variance in an area where a multiple family home is, under the ordinance, not allowed, okay? So in order to make that use variance, we have to take a look, and what the courts in Pennsylvania, up to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, what they have said is there's got to be a hardship there. You have to be able to demonstrate that the property cannot be developed or rehabilitated in accordance with the current zoning. And there's absolutely nothing that would prevent that house from being used as a single-family dwelling at this point in time. It could be rehabbed as a single-family home. Now, whether or not that's optimal, given, as Ms. Schaaf pointed out, given the fact that there are these issues with housing in Erie, and whether it's desirable to have multifamily housing, that's not something for the zoning hearing board to address. This board doesn't have the legal authority to change the zoning ordinance. All it can do is enforce the zoning ordinance in accordance with the standards that are established by the courts here in Pennsylvania. So one of the things that I did not know, but I learned in the discussions that we had, was that this isn't the only multifamily house on this block, right? Whether or not we have a record of it, whether or not there are records of all of these other ones in the area, there are apparently a number of multifamily houses on the block. As a matter of fact, that might even be the majority of the structures there. So why it was that an R1A district was imposed in an area with so many properties that don't fit in R1A, that's a fair question, but it's not a question that the zoning hearing board can address. That's something that city planning has to take up, and that's something that city council has to take up and tell us what the rules are that we are to apply. I don't think that there's a member of the board who isn't sensitive to the fact that there is a housing crisis across the country and in Erie. And I don't think that there is a member of this board that is not sensitive to the fact that there are a number of blighted properties in Erie that need people to invest in them and need people to rehabilitate them, and that there are people that will make use of that. We want to make sure that we're staying in our lane as the zoning hearing board. So there are these issues, and while we're sensitive to them, we're not in a position to affect the change that is necessary to fix them. That's the issue that we're dealing with here. Again, as Ms. Gunshin said, if we were going to apply the current standards to the current zoning ordinance, we would have to reject this application. But we don't want to do that before there's been at least some opportunity for the entities that do have the ability to address those matters to take a look at them and perhaps take some action, so that when we are ready to take this back off the table and address it, it'll be potentially a different result, okay? From my perspective now, I don't get a vote. I'm the solicitor for the board. I don't get a vote, right? I just advise them on the legal aspects of things. I would certainly encourage the property owner to continue to do whatever rehabilitation he can do on the building while waiting for this issue, because I guess the primary problem here is getting that second electrical panel up. But if there are things that can be done within the scope of the current permits that don't involve like getting a second electrical panel approved or getting a new gas meter or something like that set up, that the property owner take those steps and showed a continued interest and intent to rehabilitate this property. Because at some point in time, it's going to be either a single-family home or a multifamily home, and it's going to be in his best interest to, A, avoid additional citations, and therefore additional liens, and B, get the property ready to market in whatever form it's going to ultimately be in. So this is not a yes, but it's not a no. We're going to wait a little while and see. And in the meantime, he can do things to advance his own position. Okay?
Thank you, Arthur. Do we need a vote on this to table it?
Yes, you would need a vote to table it, but it's just a simple up and down vote. So
Okay.
it just doesn't need to be a roll call, doesn't need to be any debate on the question of tabling.
All those in favor of tabling this
Did you have a second?
application?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Okay. So we got a first and a second from Selena and Laura. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order?
May I just ask a really quick question on that? Do you want me to keep that on the agenda?
Yes.
For each hearing? Is there a timeline? Is there something I need to notify him differently on?
I would keep it on the agenda.
Okay.
I don't think that there's anything separate. I mean, if we're at a point where we anticipate that we're going to be bringing it off the table, then we would make a specific.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Anything else for the good of the order? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
We are adjourned.
We are adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.